It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your hosts, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Yeah, what is going on, friends? Lee Sanders with you guys. Checking out new RCWR show for this May 5th, 2025. Let me clear my throat. I had to hit the mute button on that one so y'all wouldn't hear that. Got a little bit of frog all of a sudden. I don't know what that's about, but I do have my handy cup of water here. What did you guys think about tonight's WWE Raw? Went a little bit longer. I wonder if this is a taste of things to come, because let's not forget, and you shouldn't need a Dave Meltzer to tell you this as if it's news, because you pretty much should have known about this since late last year. But SmackDown is getting to that point where I believe it's going to hit either in June or July. SmackDown will go back to its 2-hour format, which I know is a big sigh of relief for a lot of you guys out there. I got to be honest. When SmackDown went 3 hours, oof, that's all I got to say. It got to a point where when I do check out SmackDown nowadays, I know it's a live show, I prefer checking it out the next day or before the weekend is out, so I can just fast forward through whatever I consider is kind of boring. Definitely get through the commercials and all that. Now, that's SmackDown going back to 2 hours. As far as what's going to happen with Raw on Netflix, you would like to believe that's going to go to 3 hours. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how all of that pans out, though. Hope your weekend was fantastic. I cannot complain about mines. We dealt with a little bit of rain over here. It continued on into today, some serious thunderstorms. It was really, really bad. I know at one point my wife was actually out there on the road, and I said to her, look, this is how bad it was earlier tonight. I said, look, if you need to, just pull over to the side of the road, or do whatever you got to do and just chill until it dies out a little bit. And ultimately that's what she did. Even when she finally got home, she had to sit in her car for probably about 45-50 minutes, because that's how heavy and downpouring it was. I know for me, when I was out on the road working over the weekend, I know for me, I got caught up sometime after 1 a.m. and my windows got foggy. I tried hitting the defrost button, because usually, like, there's this weird little hack that I can do with my car, because it's an older car anyway. Usually there's a weird hack I can do, and that pretty much will clear up all of my windows. That wasn't even working, because that's how bad it was. I think this was Saturday night going into Sunday, and it was so bad for me, I ended up just pulling on over to a residential neighborhood, luckily, and I just chilled until the rain stopped, and then I carried on my little merry little way here. So but otherwise, pretty solid weekend. Been putting the final touches on this final project I've been working on for one of my classes, for my television production class. I'm basically putting together this skit. I told you guys about it, putting together my skit. So I got all my elements ready to go. My team is rocking. They ready to go. We're ready to just hit this out of the park, have some fun, And that is what's up. Of course, over here in the DC metropolitan area, you can imagine we are excited because we get in 2027, contrary to the reports that was floating around out there about potentially it being Minneapolis, Minnesota. Washington, D.C. is going to be home of the NFL draft in 2027. It will be taking place on the National Capital Mall and everything. And I tell you, it's funny because I remember hearing one of the news reporters say, hey, are we really sure that, this can happen? Are we really sure that this NFL draft is going to be able to host so many people? This was one of the DC anchors that I heard, and I'm going, oh my God, this anchor does not know her history. She just sounds like a baffling idiot right now. Because one of the first things I thought about as soon as she said that, I'm going, hello, March on Washington, Dr. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. Like, over 250,000 people had showed up to the wall and all that. That big old green, right? They showed up. So yeah, of course the draft is going to be able to hold all those people and everything. But the news was announced earlier today that the 2027 NFL draft is going to be held in DC in partnership with the Washington Commanders and local organizing committee events DC. Draft will take place across the district's most iconic landmarks. This includes the National Mall, Pennsylvania Avenue, and the location was confirmed by President Trump, who helped break in the announcement earlier today. He was with the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. He also was with the DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, and Washington Commanders owner Josh Harris. And if you're keeping tabs with DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, she is just and another one and another one. I mean, she is just getting these joints. Okay, I'm serious. She's just getting these joints. But big day. This is going to bring so much economic growth. This is going to bring so many jobs, so many awesome tax breaks. I mean, this is a godsend for DC. And I'm really hoping that with all the revenue that's going to be coming in between the NFL draft and then 3 years afterwards, when the Commanders come back home to DC, they'll be coming back to a newly rebuilt RFK Stadium. I'm really hoping that as far as, those that's walking around homeless, like they'll have options. I'm hoping that there'll be better affordable housing available for those in need, especially the homeless. I'm definitely thinking about more resources as far as after school programs, things of that nature. Like nothing but good could potentially happen from all of this. So I'm very excited. I know Tams wants to talk about it more. We were supposed to do an episode of Wrestling with the Topics over the weekend, but Tams ended up feeling a little sick. So we're actually going to be doing something this Wednesday. So we'll dive definitely more into the talk of the draft and all of that. And before you guys even ask, I've already reached out to some connections in the media industry as far as trying to get some press credentials, like trying to figure out how that whole process works. So I've already got the ball rolling on that. So don't be surprised if in the next couple of years, you're going to see and hear from your man reporting on the NFL draft and everything. What did you guys think about tonight's Raw? Sound off. I got a poll up on Twitter at the RCWR Show, also up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. Click on the post section and you can sound off that way. Of course, I'll be speaking for the very first time about the 17 plus WWE releases that went down as we were heading into the weekend. Definitely sound off on a lot of those names. Definitely some surprising names thrown in there and everything. As far as tonight's Raw goes, I think it was a step in the right direction compared to what we got last week. Remember, if you had checked out this show last week, maybe you checked it out on demand and on the downloads. I told you guys it was one of those weird episodes where it was, I came away honestly saying in a nutshell that wasn't one of the most well executed Raws that I could recall in quite some time. I remember having very strong feelings about last week's episode. I have a couple of reservations with some of the storyline developments taking place here, in which, we'll definitely get into it here. But remember, this weekend is WWE Backlash. Special start time of 7 p.m. Eastern Saturday. So make sure if you haven't done so already, you plan accordingly and everything. So let's talk about some of the positives, and then we'll kind of tackle some of the bad as well. But I gotta say, Jey Uso as the world heavyweight champion right now. I know that there are a decent amount of you guys. I've read your comments. I've seen it. There's a decent amount of you guys that feel that with Jey Uso, he has no business being a world heavyweight champion. There are those of you that feel Jey Uso can't talk worth a damn. Like it's the usual stuff when the name Jey Uso is brought up. And I get it. There's a lot of you guys that's like, look, the hell with the business aspect, the hell with if it's making money, you gotta ride with it. This dude just freaking sucks. I hear you on that. But the main thing that kind of stuck out to me like a sore thumb tonight with regards to Jey Uso, I don't like the feeling that I have right now of Jey Uso almost feeling like an afterthought as the world heavyweight champion. Now, some of you guys may say, well, Lee, what exactly do you mean by that exactly? Right? Like, how is he an afterthought? Remember how it was with Seth Rollins' first couple of title reigns, where he had Stephanie and Triple H, The Authority, Jamie Noble, Joey Mercury. He had that little security thing going on, and it just seemed like everything was all about the supporting cast and not so much about Seth Rollins and him as the champion and all that. Remember that feeling that you had as a fan back then? Newer listeners probably not really going to know what I'm talking about, but it was a weird time to be a wrestling fan and seeing what was going on with Seth Rollins way back when, because you were more interested in the supporting cast of characters around Seth Rollins as opposed to Seth Rollins himself as the world champion. And how it kind of seems that when you fast forward to today, now we have Jey Uso essentially kind of in that role. Now, to be devil's advocate, you could make the argument that, well, Jay's not really that good on the microphone. So to be in this position where you can have some other people around him and you can kind of mask that a little bit. You could say, okay, yeah, I see you on that one, right? But I don't know. For me, I wasn't liking what I saw with Jey Uso tonight. Let me count the ways. To really help you guys out. So we got Jey Uso, who kicks off the show, and he's basically trying to follow up from the beatdown that he got from Logan Paul last week. Well, he calls out Logan Paul. We get a Paul that comes out, but it isn't Logan Paul, it's Paul Heyman. And you're looking at this going, oh, this should be, hey, okay, we got Paul Heyman and Jey Uso. All right, well, this should be some pretty interesting TV here. Let's see what we got here. Jey Uso telling Paul Heyman he's got a lot of balls coming out there and everything. Everything considered, what he did to his cousin Roman Reigns, what he did to CM Punk, and that just pretty much set off Paul Heyman on this tirade justifying his actions. And it's funny because the fans in attendance were booing him, but if you really stop to listen This is one of those promos where you really want to just cancel out the background noise that is the crowd's reactions and just isolate Paul Heyman's vocals. This was some heavy stuff that Paul Heyman laid out. He talked about the fact that for CM Punk, somebody that is supposed to be his best friend, his ride or die, his BFF, the position that CM Punk put him in at WrestleMania, he was not a fan of it. He did not enjoy it one little bit, but he understood at the same time that WrestleMania, main eventing WrestleMania, it was a dream for him, and he wanted for Paul Heyman to be, by his side with regards to his match at WrestleMania. Keep in mind, Punk didn't know that he was going to main event night one of WrestleMania. But because obviously in storyline, Paul Heyman pulled some strings and the rest is history and everything. But for CM Punk to, hey, Paulie, do me a favor here, man. Like, come on. He didn't want to do it, Heyman. He did not want to be in that position, but he went on ahead and did it. And then Roman Reigns feeling like the act of betrayal there by Heyman, right? Heyman's going, wait a minute. I took this guy that was just walking around, obscurity, right? I turned him into one of the biggest box office names in WWE history. I turned him into a groundbreaking world heavyweight champion that was dominant for over, the number, 1,000 whatever days. And here's this guy thinking that I'm going to give away the playbook. I'm going to give all the tricks of the trade to CM Punk. This guy's thinking I'm going to betray him. I mean, this was a really, really heavy promo by Paul Heyman. And when you strip away the crowd reactions and you really listen, you're like, this dude's justified for why he operated the way that he did. He is totally justified. The only thing that Jey Uso can come up with is Yayus. It's like, well, he just laid this heavy stuff down. And I get it, because when you're looking at Heyman, it did look as though this guy was about to just head explode. That little gif that's running around with the news reporter and the head just explodes. Heyman did look like he was about to go in that direction. Jey Uso bringing it back home, though, saying, what does all this have to do with me? What is this all about? And Heyman lets him know, well, none of that is about you. Apologies, but we do need to talk about you, though. You got that World Heavyweight Championship. That's all about power. That is all about control. And Seth Rollins wants that. You can't handle the power and the control, but Seth Rollins can. So he's coming for that. You just name the time, you name the place, anywhere. But spoiler alert, Seth Rollins is going to walk away with that championship. Jey Uso feeling froggy, saying, okay, well, as far as anytime, any place, anywhere, let's do it here later on tonight. So that was our main event match. Solid main event match by those two when it's all said and done. I gotta admit, I was a little bit concerned there for Jey Uso. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was kind of looking at the end there, especially when we had all the little interference that was going down. Braun Breaker getting in a spear while the referee wasn't looking. Seth Rollins was able to follow up with a curb stomp. You're going, shh, this is it. This is how it's going to go down. Looks like we're going to get ourselves a new champion here. But no, it didn't happen, luckily, but that would have been a very interesting title change had it happened right then and there. Sammy Uso resurfacing. Remember, we hadn't seen him since he got the devastating beatdown from last week. He came out, bandaged up, ribs, all that stuff. Braun Breaker, I believe, took him out as our match had continued on and everything. And as all that is happening, CM Punk comes out, steel chair in hand. Braun Breaker sees him. Punk just does a phenomenal job throwing the steel chair into the face of Braun Breaker and then following up with an immediate attack to ground him, get in the ring with Seth Rollins, takes the steel chair to Rollins. So that pretty much throws the match out, right? Uso keeps his title via disqualification, but if you're really, really paying attention here, Seth Rollins picked up the win via DQ, but like that really doesn't matter when it's all said and done. So we end with this big old stare down of CM Punk, Sami Zayn looking on at Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, right? So we're essentially kind of evened up here and everything. This was a good main event match. Don't get me wrong. Um, Even with that little thing that happened with the finish, right? I mean, you don't never really want to crown a new world heavyweight champion unless you absolutely right when it comes to TV and everything. You want to kind of do your best to keep it for the pay-per-view and all that. But I like the fact that we've got Punk, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso that have essentially formed this alliance, if you will. And it's just a matter of time before Roman Reigns is thrown into the mix. But I think the real question is, how soon will fans have to wait before Roman Reigns is thrown in there? Because, I think I might be getting my wish as far as this new Paul Heyman Dangerous Alliance, adding new members. Remember, I've been toying with the idea for some years now. Paul Heyman, Omos, Paul Heyman, Omos. You see all the names of the people that recently got released. You see Omos is not on that list, which is a good thing. At the same time, though, you're going, what exactly are we going to do here with Omos? What exactly are we waiting for here? So I can't help but wonder if something might eventually happen with that big man, or if it's possible maybe something might happen with a Bronson Reed, depending on where he is with his recovery and everything. Could maybe a Bronson Reed be the next guy to come in there with that dangerous alliance? Time will tell. But I like this partnership that we've got going on here. But now the question becomes, who's the third man going to be for Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker? Because they're obviously outnumbered now. So who is their third guy going to be to counterpoint what we saw here go down tonight? But you're just looking at all of these supporting. Hey, maybe they might not have to go that far. Maybe it might be Logan Paul. You never know. Anything can happen. Like WWE, there's some easy plug and play guys that they can definitely, if they want to. But I'm hoping that they go with a Omos or a I just named him a few seconds ago, a Bronson Reed. Hopefully, it'll go in one of those two directions. But do you now see what I'm talking about as far as Jey Uso kind of being on the back end here, and he's the world heavyweight champion? It almost kind of reminds me of. It almost kind of reminds me of, to a certain extent, the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises. When you go to the Dark Knight, you're more interested in the Joker character, you're more interested in the Two-Face character and all the drama that's going on with Commissioner Gordon and everything. And Batman in that particular installment, he felt like an afterthought. He felt like a second fiddle, and to the point even Christian Bale kind of, talked about all of that quite a bit and everything. And then by the time you get to the Dark Knight Rises, it just feels as though they just really spammed out on so many bonus characters, and still to a certain extent Batman kind of felt like, to a degree, second fiddle again. Same kind of vibe that I'm getting here with regards to Jey Uso. We kind of need to be careful here. If we're WWE, you got to be careful here and tell the story that you're trying to tell, but make sure also at the same time, you have Jey Uso in a position where, honestly, I would like to see Jey Uso come out the very next week and thank the fact that, hey, Sammy, hey, Punk, thank you guys for having my back. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, I'm trying to be a fighting champion anytime, any place, anywhere, but yeah, it's obvious that, we got the numbers game that, it could have ended badly for me last week. Appreciate you guys having my back and all that. I see right now going forward, I'm gonna need to be a little bit more smarter when it comes to my title defenses here. I'd like to see Jey Uso kind of say and think along those lines and maybe do something in a way where if he is going to be that fighting champion, has his matches set up so that hey, no interference. It's just straight up one-on-one. Let's just do this. But I don't even see that happening. It'd be nice, right? But I just don't see that happening. But he definitely needs to have a more, especially since he's the world heavyweight champion. For me, he just kind of needs to have more of a front and center approach rather than what we've been seeing of him per se these past 2 weeks. That's just my take. You guys may differ, right? You may beg to differ on it and all that, but that's just where I'm coming from. So those are the pros and cons of that one. Becky Lynch cutting a very mean-spirited promo tonight on Lyra Valkyria, talking about how she pretty much took out the trash and did the recycling as well. And, fans didn't thank her. They were just asking all these weird, why would you do that? All these funny little questions. I related and connected so well when Becky Lynch was saying that stuff about, hey, you're supposed to say thank you. Every time, each week, I put out the trash and the recyclables. And I say to my family, hey, I put out the trash and the recyclables. Nothing makes me feel more than when they say thank you. That reminds me, I got a flat screen TV I need to put out because it is heavy duty day tomorrow. It's always on the first Tuesday of the month over here. I got to make sure my flat screen goes out. I got a flat screen, not the one I usually talk about, but I have like this much smaller ones, like a 40 something inch. Damn thing hasn't worked in years. That's why we ultimately had upgraded. I have been looking at that thing, always forgetting to put it out. Not this time. This time that bad boy is going out. Anyway, Lyra Valkyria coming in there. I wasn't really a fan of the promo that she had cut. I think it was either last week or the week before when her and Becky were having a battle of words, and Lyra seemed very, I was right here on the show talking about it. I said Lyra seemed very shaken, did not seem confident. She did not seem as though she had really practiced her lines, talking in front of the mirror, trying to, get that right uh, emotion, evoke that right emotion and everything. And this week, look, I don't know. I know some of the wrestlers, they make their rounds, checking out different podcasts, seeing what different people are saying. So, like, I don't know. I know we've got friends of the show, associates of the show. I don't know. But I will say, the Lyra Valkyria I saw tonight that was cutting the promo there with Becky, giving it right back to her. I'm going, okay, you are heading in the right direction. Everything that I was complaining about the week prior in her last promo exchange, she really seemed to correct the hell out of it. And so you show me a person that's making some type of a conscious effort, and I can work with that person. And she's definitely going in the right direction and everything. This feud still feels a little bit lackluster, though, for my personal taste. Still feels a little lackluster, but love seeing these two girls, brawl, get it on and everything. So now the question becomes, are they going to be fighting each other at Backlash, or this is going to just continue to play out over the next couple of weeks of Monday Night Raw? Probably the latter. Probably the latter. We'll have to see how that all pans itself out. Meanwhile, some in-ring action for the night. Penta taking on JD McDonagh. Nice, fun little match there. About 7 minutes and some change. Penta picking up the victory. Some pretty solid action. JD and Penta, they mashed up pretty well together. I gotta say, I loved it. Grayson Waller was seen chatting it up with Adam Pearce, who made his return. Remember last week it was Nick Aldis stepping in for him. Grayson Waller convinces Adam Pearce that he does not want to do this one-on-one matchup, and instead, why not give it to Austin Theory? Austin Theory is like, "Yo, okay, cool, I'm game." He wants to know who his opponent is, as Grayson Waller tells them, "I'll just let it be a surprise. You'll find out when you get out there." Later on, turns out that person would be Sheamus. That was about 6 minutes and some change. Always great seeing the Celtic Warrior Sheamus back in action. Love him tremendously. One of my absolute favorites as far as brawlers go. By the way, for those of you that's playing your WWE Super Card, how are you guys doing with the Celtic Warrior quest? I know there is about, at this point, 2 days, handful of hours left. And if you are able to complete all the tasks in that Sheamus quest, you get yourself a WrestleMania 41 tiered Sheamus card. I already got one Sheamus card just from doing the quest. But I did collect enough Celtic Warrior crosses. I think now I'm at like 70, maybe 75. So I definitely, I think I can pull it off. I think I can get enough so I can pro my Sheamus card and go from there. Gracie and Sheamus back though. Love me some Sheamus. Dominic Mysterio. It's announced as far as a new match being added to Backlash this weekend. We're going to see at Backlash Dominic Mysterio defending that Intercontinental Championship against Penta, which was a nice segue to the Clubhouse. Remember, Liv Morgan, she is off filming a movie right now, and we kind of got some new information in regards to Liv Morgan. I just find it so funny that when we were here last week, I said to you guys, I can see Liv Morgan now at this stage where she's at, personality wise, like all that. Now that she's like finally found it, I said I could see her being in a position where if I was her agent, remember I said that? I said if I was her agent, I'd be trying to put her in some type of some independent films, maybe let her sink her teeth into some serious acting roles that could probably make some heads turn and everything. And so now we're kind of getting a little bit more information here in regards to the role that she has per Deadline. Deadline is usually pretty on point here. Looks like she's joined the cast of Bad Lieutenant Tokyo, a thriller film that's directed by the legendary horror filmmaker Takashi Miki. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. If I butchered that name, hey, it happens, man. It's live. So apparently, this story will follow a bad lieutenant played by Sean Oguri, who is ingrained into a tangled case after the arrival of an FBI agent played by Lily James in Tokyo. That's sad. I can let that roll off my tongue just fine. This case centers on the disappearance of a politician's daughter, which is going to be portrayed by Liv Morgan. At the same time, a killer involved in Japanese organized crime appears to be shadowing their moves. No timetable on when this movie is going to be released. Now, remember, Morgan, she appeared in the Kill Room film and the Chucky television series. So not for nothing, but she's already got a couple of, IMDb credits under her belt and everything. So, good for her, to hear that this is a pretty serious role and everything. Like, seriously, that's good for her. She's got a great look and everything. You know, I'm sure Enzo Amore is probably sitting around somewhere kicking himself in the ass. Damn, man, I messed that up. I had a really good thing going, and I just messed that all up, man. Gee, I was just picturing the poor guy. But anyway, um, so Dom finds out what's going on at Backlash. He's not a fan of this whatsoever. And AJ Styles pops up, lets Dominic know, regardless of what happens at Backlash, he's got next as far as whoever the champion is. So he walks out. Dom says to Finn Balor, yo, you've known AJ for such a long time. Help me out with this guy. Can't you take care of this AJ Styles problem for me? Finn looks on kind of pissed off. Like, how dare you ask me? But then goes, yeah, sure, bud. Well, yeah, no problem. I'll take care of it for you. Next week, we're going to be seeing AJ Styles and Finn Balor 1-on-1. Also, next week, we're going to see Rhea Ripley team up with IYO SKY to take on Roxanne Perez and Julia. Because this week, there was no Rhea Ripley. This week, we pretty much got ourselves another rinse and repeat with IYO SKY and Roxanne Perez. IYO did pick up the win. Pretty solid women's match, I gotta say. Pretty solid women's match. Post match, another beat down. You were looking for Rhea Ripley, hoping that she was maybe gonna come out, but she never did. Actually, she never did come out. All the matches on the card for tonight, though: Penta versus JD McDonagh, IYO SKY versus IYO SKY versus why am I blanking out? Roxanne Perez. Those two were some really, really solid matchups. Even the main event match was good, despite all the interference that we had going on. Otis taking on the Redeemer, Rusev. No brainer right here. Rusev picking up the win. Very basic formula that WWE went with. All right. Two big, beefy men just going at it, but Rusev getting the upper hand and everything. Basically, I looked at this as, look, it wasn't a squash match by no stretch. But if you want to look at it as far as continuing to build up the mystique of Rusev, reintroducing him to newer WWE fans that may not be familiar with him. Look, granted, you didn't have people that checked him out in AEW, to the point my wife had walked in while this match was on, and she goes, wow, he looks so great. It's great that he's back in WWE. Wow, what a great physique he's got. And I told her, I said, okay. I said, yeah, that's right. You haven't been seeing him when he was in AEW. And she's like, well, I don't know what that has to do with anything. He looks good. Look at him. I said, oh no, it's like, I hear you. I said, but not for nothing. Like, this is how he has been looking since he's been in AEW for the past handful of years. She was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah. So like, you'd be surprised how many people, like, aren't really aware of what's going on with the guy and everything. So Rusev got over well in this one. I like this current campaign that he's on, where he's looking to extinguish the demons out of those that he feels is just, they're being wasted. Their talents are being wasted, or whatever you got that's going on there. Some kind of funny stuff we got. Adam Pearce inviting Pat McAfee into the ring so that he and Gunther can have their little face off. I thought Pat McAfee's promo little bit off the rails a couple of times here and there, but for the most part, I definitely, I'm still going, wow, this guy Pat McAfee can cut a promo better than half the roster. This guy's the honest truth. This guy's the honest truth. Um, Gunther pretty much offering a nice rebuttal. Hey, don't even think for 1 second that I'm underestimating you. I'm taking you for granted. Don't think for 1 second that I don't know what you're capable of, because I do. And rest assured that when I show up Saturday, you are going to get my absolute best. I mean, that pretty much was what Gunther said to him in a nutshell. While also letting him know once that bell rings, he's going to be squeezing his neck so damn hard that when he drops Pat McAfee, he's going to drop like a damn soaked towel onto the floor. So some pretty, some pretty intense words from Gunther. Nice, cool moment there. Other than that, wow, we blazed through the talk of WWE Raw that quick there. So some pretty short matches from what I was looking at and clocking in off and on from this respected night and everything. Um Quality wise, slightly better than what we got last week. I'll definitely give it that. I think the main selling points for me was Paul Heyman's promo, because that was just absolute gold right there. Um, and I know for some fans, there's some weeks where Paul Heyman comes out there, and there's been those rare times where it's like, what the hell is Paul Heyman doing here? Like, that was kind of, this was Paul Heyman in rare form. I mean, this was really, really good stuff that he delivered. Pat McAfee delivering a pretty good promo as well. So promos of the night definitely goes to those two. Matches of the night, we already talked about it. Those are pretty good. Nice setup for this weekend's WWE Backlash event, which, by the way, and looking at that card, here's how things are looking. And we're not going to get into predictions tonight because we don't need the show being that long. We don't want to go that much into overtime. But the way the card is looking for this Saturday, we got 5 matches so far. We already told you about Penta taking on Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. We're also going to see Jacob Fatu defend his United States Championship match in a fatal 4-way against LA Knight, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. We've got Pat McAfee taking on Gunther. Lyra Valkyria taking on Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. And then don't forget, in the main event, the undisputed WWE Championship, John Cena defends against Randy Orton. Definitely one more time right here for these two OGs. So that is how Backlash is looking. Pretty good. Let's go to the polls and let's see what you guys had to say about tonight's WWE Raw. Head on over to Twitter at the RCWR Show. Cast your vote that way. You can also cast a vote on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. What is going on here? What is going on here? Yeah, I don't know who this person is. That is a block. Some weird people. I got some weird people, like, when you like certain posts and all that on social media, then you get like these weird robot accounts that like to mess with you. What's going on here? That's another weird one. Hang on. It's another weird one. There we go. All right, let's look at these community polls here. All right, looking at Twitter first. We got a tie at 5%. Half of you at 5% didn't enjoy the episode at all. Other 5% of you thought it was a below average episode. Meanwhile, 26% of you thought this week's Raw was an average show, while top dog right now, 63% of you felt it was a awesome show. Appreciate those of you that cast your votes. Let's head on over to YouTube. Let's see how you guys voted over there. What is this about hand gestures? I got something on my MacBook. Add effects using hand gestures. Turn on reactions to express yourself with a hand gesture during a video call. click. I don't know what the hell that's about. Anyway, let's see here. Let's look at posts. See how you guys voted. Early voting on YouTube, as always. Most likely not going to pick up until a couple of hours later. I'm seeing a tie at 50%. Half of you said it was an average show. Other half of you said it was a awesome show. So appreciate you guys that had cast your votes. Much appreciated. So let's keep it rocking and let's keep it rolling. Get into some more stuff here on tonight's show. So I guess where we can go now, I guess we can talk about some of these WWE releases that went down as pretty much Friday, like going into the weekend, basically. You know, we found out about these releases that was going on. A bit surprising, I would have to say, as WWE released over 17 members of the WWE roster. And in no particular order, we're going to go on ahead and tackle these releases. And I'll definitely give you guys my thoughts, my personal thoughts on some of these releases. Shayna Baszler, no particular order. Shayna Baszler been part of the WWE since 2017. We think about her great run down in NXT. She was the queen of spades. You know, that was one of her original gimmicks. And honestly, it was the perfect gimmick for her. She was one of the absolute best NXT women's champions. You know, how fond am I of Shayna Baszler and her time there in NXT and just the way she was built and built up and everything? How fond am I of that particular moment? You guys can't really see it in the background. Maybe if you pause the video and you blow it up, but if you're looking at where I'm pointing and as I move my fingers, you see this blonde hair chick right here. That is Caitlyn. And if I move my finger right here, so you can pause the video, you might be able to see it pretty good. There's a picture of Shayna Baszler when she was the NXT champion. It's an autographed picture of Shayna Baszler as the NXT Women's Champion. That's how fond and I've had that on my wall for years. I was happy when she got called up to the main roster because I'm going, man, if there was ever a woman that can just mess a woman up, I mean, do some serious damage. If there was ever a bad mofo you don't want to cross paths with, same if you a dude, you know, because she'll probably put you on your ass most likely. Like Shayna Baszler is that woman. But like I remember immediately, and this was all during Vince McMahon's watch. I remember when she came up to the main roster, her initial run, you know, it became lackluster very quickly. Um, I still remember when she bit the back of Becky Lynch's neck or something like that. You know, they pretty much had her, and this was a weird Vince McMahon thing. Like all of a sudden, she was like just pulling a Mike Tyson, and she was just starting to bite people and all that. I'm going, okay, well maybe this is kind of maybe we're going somewhere interesting with this and everything. You thought about the build up where she won the 2020 Elimination Chamber match, but then at the same time, that match was one of the worst chamber matches of all time. I remember that being critically panned and everything. You had the WrestleMania match where she lost to Becky Lynch. Um, to which, you know, you can make an argument that she never really recovered and everything. So, And then you start doing the pure fusion collective stuff. Oh, let's not forget there's that brief period there where she was feuding with Ronda Rousey. And I thought for sure the feud that was going on there with Ronda Rousey, I thought we were maybe starting to get back to basics there with Ronda, but things got pretty cooled once again. I loved it when Shayna teamed up with Nia Jax. I thought there was a lot of life in the tank with the two of them as a tag team. So much potential, but that ultimately did not go anywhere. And remember how they had Shayna eventually snap on Nia Jax. Remember that? I mean, didn't she break Nia Jax's arm in storyline or something of that magnitude? And you're going, oh man, we're going back to basics with Shayna Baszler. Did not go anywhere. Then you had the pure fusion collective stuff that went down with Zoe Stark, Shayna Deville, and that faction could not get over if their life freaking depended on it. Um, just wow. Just wow, 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 wow. So, and now we have Zoe Stark left. Sonya Deville's gone, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Sonya Deville is gone. So now it's just Zoe Stark. Now you're looking at her, and it's funny because when I was listening to some people go over some of these releases, I didn't listen to too many people, but when I was the ones I did listen to, it was interesting how they all overlook Zoe Stark. I'm going, it's probably just a matter of time now for Zoe Stark. Like, not wishing that on her, but if you're seeing pretty much what's happened, realistically, you can't put help sit and go, Zoe, you better work your magic, honey. You better do something pretty soon rather than later. What's going on with you? Um yeah, and I here's the thing with Zoe Stark. I think there's so much potential with her. I really, really do. The question is how much more time is going to be put in her. That's the deal. But Shayna Baszler, I think this was bad. I think this was bad that they let her go and everything. But let's be realistic. She's like 42, 43, 44. I definitely think as far as the in-ring general goes, you want to have somebody be that measuring stick on if you're going in the right direction or not. I definitely feel that Shayna Baszler was that person and then some. I never heard anything bad about Shayna backstage and everything like that. Whatever was asked of her to do, she just put her head down and she would do it, and that's why she ended up being there for so long and everything. As far as what the future lies for Shayna Baszler, whatever she wants to do, man. I mean, seriously, if she wants to continue to keep her feet into that wrestling pool, she can do that. I mean, say what you will about AEW, it has its finicky little, but man, it seems like Tony Khan is not going to end this Combat Club stuff no time soon. I'm looking at Marina Shafir in there and just everything that's going on. If you maybe wanted to slide in Shayna Baszler into that, I mean, she would fit into the Blackpool Combat Club extremely well. I personally think give it a whole new layer, especially since you could have Shayna easily just walking up to dudes, cold clocking the hell out of them, putting them in submission holds and all that other stuff. Let's not also forget Shayna Baszler has already done some work with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport promotion, with their pay-per-views and all that. I could easily see her continuing to do that on the regular. If she maybe wanted to do some stuff in GCW, I know she would be a great addition as a regular member and contributor to GCW. If she maybe wanted to take her talents to New Japan, I could definitely see her do that as well. If she ultimately decided she wanted to get into some MMA again, like she could easily, like, The woman's got options, so many options. She will be just fine. That is a person that, as far as their asking price goes and all of that, whatever she decides, her and her team, whatever they decide they want to command, they are gonna be just fine. They're gonna be just fine. She is somebody like you don't have to worry about, like right down to the point as far as immediately going out there on the circuit and doing meet and greets, autograph signings, and all that. She really doesn't even have to do that. She doesn't have to do that right now, especially if she doesn't really want to do that. I mean, she would make some damn good instant money, but she doesn't need to do that like in the immediate future. That's a woman that's gonna be all right. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman released, for basically the second time, because remember, this was his second tenure with WWE. And it's amazing how almost 3 years goes by quick. Because remember, he came back to WWE back in 2022. Time flies. I know. It's crazy, but time flies. His peak really came and went when he had the feuds there with Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed. Now, I'm not going to say that he made those guys, because those guys, even if it wasn't Braun Strowman in the picture, those guys would have eventually, because they just are undeniable. But did his contributions, did it help? Yeah, for sure. It helped. I wouldn't say, significantly, but because eventually they were going to go over. They were going to go over. But you can give him a little bit of dab for, hey, saw what you did, good teamwork and all that. But let's be honest here. The Braun Strowman of this 2022 to 25 run compared to his first run, night and day. I mean, you can just tell that, especially in the knees, Braun is hurting. Braun is hurting. You've heard me on this show many times say, why do we got this guy running? I mean, he looks like he is struggling. Like, why are we having him do this? It just makes him come off very uncharacteristic. If he is a monster, then let him take his time, because he's got the height, he's got the mass, he's got the width. Okay. Like, let this guy take his time with his opponents. Let them be so traumatized, so in fear of this guy as they're trying to run away from him. They're tripping, they're knocking in the stuff, and eventually he's able to get his hands on them. That was my whole argument. So to see how things ended up with Braun Strowman this go around, very, very, I felt too comedic. And it was bad enough as it is when you had Braun Strowman doing the choo-choo train, basically, under Vince McMahon and all that. Just stupid. Just stupid. I go back to the vintage days where we were first introduced to Braun Strowman, member of the Wyatt family and all that. Great menacing look. You definitely thought the guy was going places, but the mystique, it got rubbed off real quick, and it just seems like he wasn't able to really recover. Once he had that feud with Roman Reigns back in the day, whatever mystique that he had going on and everything, just that was it. This man is in his 40s. As far as his best days of wrestling, I think it's honestly behind him. He really does not need the work, apparently, because as soon as he found out about his release, he was posting some social media stuff of him enjoying his time on his boat, saying he'll probably just continue to enjoy the view and right. So that's a guy who, honestly, as far as the independent circuit goes, if he ever decides he wants to do something, even if it's for some one-off appearances here and there, he will be just fine. I know him and EC3, they had that, deep connection there, especially when they were trying to start up the whole control your narrative promotion. So for EC3 to now be involved in NWA, it would seem like a likely landing spot for Braun Strowman there. I could definitely see the two of them, teaming back up, collaborating again, and everything like that. I don't see AEW, contrary to how some people, I don't see AEW happening in the cards for him. Some of the stuff that he has said about Tony Khan in the past, Tony Khan just comes off like that type of individual who he ain't gonna let bygones be bygones. So you can pretty much forget about that. And honestly, I think Braun Strowman's like, well, honestly, I don't give a damn. So I could also see Braun Strowman pulling a Kevin Nash, and he's got a great look. I could definitely see him in a couple of movie projects. I could definitely see him doing something on a TV show or two or three, playing a menacing big bad guy or whatever, right? I know you guys could see that too. Like, just picture him as one of the bad guys in a Jason Statham movie or whatever, and Jason's got to, take him down and all that. Like, Strowman will be just fine. He'll be just fine. Dakota Kai. This was Dakota Kai's second rodeo with the WWE, believe it or not. She returned to the WWE back in 2022, much like almost around the same time with Braun Strowman and everything. Did that whole damage control, won the women's tag titles twice with IYO SKY. Then she injured her knee, or actually she had a couple of knee injuries, and it just pretty much was a case where, damn, can this girl stay healthy long enough? What the hell? Came off kind of clear that Dakota Kai maybe not too happy with what was going on with how she was being properly utilized, being happy with creative and everything. Um, kind of interesting how she was a little bit outspoken and everything, but you know, Dakota Kai, great look. She had some moments where I can see something kind of blossoming here from this girl. I mean, definitely the look, not deniable. She had a nice exotic look about her. Um, More personality I felt needed to be flushed out though. And that was the main thing for me, was the personality. As great as she looked, the personality, like, let's have that flushed out more. And I never really, as a fan, I never really did feel that connection, right? And I definitely didn't feel she was trying to do her best to make that connection. It's interesting. I can think about some of the stuff that she was doing down in NXT and how great of a run it was for her in NXT. And that just did not translate over to when she eventually went over to the main roster. Um, Kind of unfortunate there. Now, as far as her back on the independent circuit, definitely stardom. Um, I don't think Women of Wrestling could afford her. But if David McLean wants to, maybe. I mean, she would fit that realm perfectly. I think. But it was just a matter of her asking price, whether or not they can come to terms. But her working with Shine, Shimmer, Stardom, I could definitely see her tearing it up in those promotions. AEW, if I could have her ear, I would say no, you don't want to, because you just left one really bad relationship. And if you felt a particular way while you were in WWE, you're going to feel a particular way in AEW unless you don't mind counting those checks. Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe. Now remember, Dakota Kai and Eddie Thorpe, apparently they're dating each other in real life. I did not know that. So when you Here that Dakota Kai was on the chopping block, you're going, oh, so surely Eddie Thorpe is on the chopping block as well here. Thorpe, huge feud there with Trick Williams. They went at it for multiple months. I mean, you just felt damn. And I got to tell you something as a fan, and I can remember reading all the comments about Eddie Thorpe. The overall consensus was, why is this guy continuing to get championship match after championship match after championship match against Trick Williams? Like, what the crowd was not liking him. This was not that go away heat. This was not that, ooh, he's got good heel heat. This was, no, why are you forcing this guy down our throats? We don't care about this guy. He is not the guy. He is not the one you should be giving us to try to invest in, because we're not buying what he's selling. He's not for us. We're not interested. I mean, and yeah, you can make an argument that, hey, his stuff in New Japan, that was kind of cool and everything, but it just never clicked. Never clicked in NXT. I know they tried repackaging him as this Native American, and I get what he was trying to do. It's almost reminding me of a modern take on Tatanka to a certain degree, but it just, there's only going to be but such a small handful of people that's going to understand that kind of gimmick and kind of dig it and all that. But he was just a little bit all over the place. And when you're all over the place and you're not really taking the time to really set yourself up to, okay, as far as the process message goes, what I want for the viewers, what I want for the fans to come away from me with is, he was so all over the place. He'll probably do just fine on the independents, and you could definitely make an argument that wherever Dakota goes, maybe he won't be that far behind, TNA wrestling, not, Dakota Kai and TNA wrestling. Yeah, maybe, sure, whatever. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. So I see this whole thing about, oh, the women's tag team division, it's got to mean something, and so many people are like, oh, this is a blow for the women's tag team division. No, it's not. And just to prove my point, can you name for me at least 5 other times within recent weeks, and how many times Kaden Carter and Katana Chance had been on television wrestling? Probably not, so you didn't notice. Right? So be honest with yourselves, okay? Now I will say this, if you want to make an argument that as far as the few women's tag teams that WWE had, where, okay, these girls like legit, they flow very well as a tag team, yeah, you could definitely give them those respected props, for sure. Um, but very, the writing was on the wall for these girls because they were hardly being used. I know one of the last couple of times we saw them, they had Lyra Valkyria. And remember how quick I was to say that first rodeo with Lyra, get her as far away from Kaden Carter and Katana Chance as possible, because they're killing her mojo, right? And Lyra was fresh off of NXT. So, and they remember when Kaden Carter and Katana Chance won the women's tag titles. I don't even think they made it 6 weeks before they lost the titles. Talk about a way to try to properly build up. You can make an argument WWE doesn't care about the women's tag team division. I think at this point, if you're WWE, you just need to go, okay, look, can we just have a set of women's tag champions that can just go between all the brands take on, the absolute best, whoever is out there, rather than just have it be designated to, oh, we're just going to mainly have them be on this show. They'll defend the titles. We need to get to that point where we have whoever is the champions, in this case your women's tag champions, just go around, and this whole narrative about, oh, they don't care about the tag team. Like, on the contrary, because we saw what happened with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. We've been seeing these past handful of weeks what's been happening with Rhea Ripley and IYO SKY, Julia and Roxanne Perez, right? All of that has definitely been gelling pretty well. You go over in NXT even, and you've got some interesting tag teams for females that's been going on over there. So it's not so much that WWE doesn't care about the women's tag team division. I think it's more about, rather than just put two random people together and, okay, well, what is more feasible, what makes a lot of sense, what will definitely get people going, ooh, and all that other stuff. So I'm not going to say WWE doesn't care about the women's tag division, contrary to how some people may feel. I think it's more about WWE really understanding and saying, look, we've got so many talents that's down there at the Performance Center. We've got NXT. We've got Evolve. We got our hands dipped into so many things that, now more than ever, there's a really big takeaway here. It's now more than ever, if you don't have what we're looking for, like, we're going to give you the opportunities. But if you're not taking advantage of those opportunities, if you're not, understand something, there's somebody else that's more hungrier, more determined, more committed, more that wants that opportunity that you got. So if this is your best game and you haven't really given it truly all your best, like, you better stop faking and get to it already. Gigi Dolan had the Chemical X faction thing going on with Shotzi Blackheart and Tatum Paxley. Toxic Attraction. This was a woman that you thought, definitely had the look, the aura, definitely right up there as far as like the aura, the charisma, like all that, it kind of borderlined, I would think it kind of borderlined Chelsea Green to a certain extent, mixed in with a little bit of, because Gigi also stood out in her own unique way that really, you really couldn't compare, because she was truly her own individual. There's a good aura that was going on about her and everything. That Chemical X faction, I was really, really big on that. I thought that definitely was going to be going some places and all that. So Gigi Dolan, for me, of all the names I'm looking at going, Gigi Dolan was quite surprising, because I thought this was definitely someone that we were going to be seeing for many years to come. Quite taken back. She's going to be just fine. I can see her easily TNA knockouts division easily and just tearing it up over there. Let's not forget her connection to Zachary Wentz, who is also in TNA. So that would be a very easy transition for her. Jakara Jackson. Jakara Jackson signed with the WWE in 2021. She was put in the Metaphor faction. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with Metaphor, especially when one of your homies is Lash Legend, who I think very highly of. I saw a lot of potential there in Jakara Jackson and everything. great tag team matches that she had with Lash Legend. They were legit a really good tag team. So to the whole point about, understand something, when you hear people that say, "Oh, WWE doesn't care about their women's tag division," like when you hear somebody say that, pick their brain on if they've been watching NXT, and like, you'll know who is just going for the buzzworthy words and all of that. Now, if you get somebody that says, when it comes to the main flagship shows, WWE really doesn't care about women's tag teams. In the past, you could definitely make that argument, but in my eyes, at least, it seems like they're trying to work on it. They just want to put the right people in place, that it seems. But I always had high hopes that a Jakari Jackson and Lash Legend would eventually come up to the main roster, and everything, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen now. Remember, Jakari Jackson had a really good standout moment at last year's Crown Jewel. So I remember being on this show, singing her praises, and all of that. So very this sucks. This really sucks that what happened here with Jakara Jackson. She's got a fantastic look, pretty solid in the ring as well. I know she posted on social media. I don't know if it was earlier today or if it was yesterday, but she basically she took a nice little classy approach, thanking WWE and everything, but also saying that as far as bookings and all of that goes, she's definitely, after a certain amount of time has passed, she's definitely going to be out there and everything. So that is somebody I think I'm you know what? I'm gonna have some conviction. I think this is somebody that WWE may regret letting go. Now, understand something. Some of these people that get released, maybe for WWE, whatever their pace was of, all right, do they get it? Are they, doesn't really seem like they are. Some people you got to let go. They need to go test the waters elsewhere. And then, they really grow as an individual as a result. Now, not everybody's going to be able to rise to that occasion. Jakar Jackson, I think, is somebody that will definitely rise to the occasion. I definitely think that is far as someone that's maybe going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulders and prove that, y'all did wrong. And she's definitely somebody I think you can maybe put her in the same conversation as an Indy Hartwell. I definitely think, but it just, how hungry are you? How determined are you? That's the thing. Just because the dream job that is WWE is now in the rearview mirror, it doesn't mean that that's it, like your career is over. You can easily go and rebuild yourself and your career elsewhere. The real question is, are you up for the challenge? Are you willing to invest in that challenge? That's the deal. Oral Munsa, this was another member of the Metaphor. Yeah, I mean, at this point, this faction is definitely done. I mean, you only got like barely half the members left with this and everything. This guy was with the WWE for about 6 years, decent run. Um, of the Metaphor, I gotta be honest, I don't like saying this. Of the Metaphor, I felt he was the weakest. I felt like, as a casting director, and I can definitely relate to this from a television productive perspective, since I've been taking classes on television production, coming up with scripts and all kinds of stuff, storyboards and all that, and filming and editing, shooting and all that. If I'm looking at the Metaphor and I'm looking at Oro and I'm feeling how I'm feeling, I'm definitely going, okay, well, who else could I maybe? Yeah, he's got a great look, nice body, nice beard and all that, but who would maybe be better in that role? And if I were to close my eyes, like instantly, there's like 5 names that jump out at me where I go, these guys could do this role better than what Oro is doing. So either Oro's got to step his game up or we got to put somebody else in there. And so that's how I kind of felt about Oro there. Maybe him going back to the independent circuit, maybe that would do him some good. Maybe that would do him some good, really help him sharpen up even more and everything, get a little bit more grit. Maybe that'll help him out. Who knows? Gallus, all 3 members of Gallus, no more. Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang. Great workers, man. As far as your tag team division and all that goes, like these guys, man, I think about some of the great stuff I saw with them in NXT UK and everything. A forgettable faction though, especially when you just think about these last couple of years, and you think about Joe Coffey and the speaking out movement and some of the controversial things that he said. And that's kind of one of those, how can this guy still have a job with WWE? Which, by the way, I know some people are running with the conspiracy theory that for Eddie Trope, he probably was a marked man with some of the stuff that he had to say political wise on Trump and a few other things. And I really want to drive this home because, and I don't want somebody saying, oh, let me tell you something. As somebody that is studying to work in the career of journalism, one of the proper like etiquettes that they have, and like it is literally like in the guidebook and everything. When it comes to talking politics, and you are a journalist, it's like it's a no-no. Your personal opinions, like even if you mean well and like no, like no, just report the facts. Like that's it. Because the minute that you start choosing sides and you're going to alienate somebody, like either way, even if you're on the side of the right side, okay, you're going to alienate people regardless. So it's kind of one of those, just keep your thoughts to yourself. And if you can't keep your thoughts to yourself, make a private account. Don't let it be in your name. Go under something, random or whatever, and pretty much operate that way. So I cannot stress it enough for wrestlers, entertainers, athletes. I cannot stress it enough. If you're going to talk politics, you may want to take my advice and make yourself a private account, a dummy account. Do your thing that way. That way, nothing comes back to bite you in the ass. I mean, Lars Sullivan, people, hello. They'll be all right though. Gallus, they'll be all right. They'll be just fine. I mean, we'll easily be able to see them on the independents again. Riley Osborne, not really surprised here. From the moment that this guy was done with Chase U and everything wrapped up last year at NXT, you just kind of felt like, well, they barely did anything with this guy and everything. I think his last match, I'm trying to think when his last match was in NXT/WWE, but feels like it's been a minute, but not really surprised by that one. Javier Bernal, very brief, had a foot injury, came back, I think, in January, barely been used at all. Danny Palmer, this one got revealed a bit late at night, apparently. A lot of folks not really surprised by this one. To the point, it's like, when was the last time this woman was on WWE TV or NXT or whatever? So I can't really comment that much on Danny Palmer because I got to be honest with you guys. I've never really seen her that much in action. Bear with me a second. I hear one of my furry little daughters that wants to come in and say hello. So let me let her in here. Ah. That sucks. She can't open the door. That sucks. Let's see if we can help her out here. uh, all right. I think she's good now. She came on out. Are you good? Are you good? You just a fussing. You a fussy little baby. There we go. There's a kiddo. You doing all that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You heard me having a good time talking to the friends out there, and you wanna make a little cameo appearance, huh? You want to talk into the microphone? Yeah, yeah. You good? You good? I gotta give you a haircut. You and your sisters. It's that time for a haircut. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. This name surprised me, but after hearing what some of my friends and colleagues were saying, ooh, do spill the tea. Cora Jade, 24 years old, a lot of potential, a lot of great potential, a lot of great potential. This girl has barely scratched the surface. Fantastic run, I felt, as a NXT Women's Champion. Um, I mean, man, you couldn't go wrong with this woman. It seemed like future, very, very bright, especially as far as being part of the main roster. It seemed like this woman could do no wrong in everything. And for her to be released, some people are speculating that, maybe it was the injuries. Maybe that was kind of one of the key reasons behind her WWE release. She had the really bad knee injury last year, and then she got injured again a few months ago. I don't think it has, and then it was reported that she had some type of head injury. I don't think it has anything to do more so with the injuries. I don't think that's the case at all. Um, Maybe a small factor, but and I'm not gonna take any credit for this. Unlike some people, I give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Joe Numbers of Wrestling Soup. He had mentioned that from his respected people that he was talking to, sources he was talking to, because he knows people, right? You don't do it as long as he's been doing it without knowing people, and he's been at it 2 times longer than I have. Apparently, she rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Like he's hearing a lot of bad things about her personality wise and everything. And look, I don't know how much of that really rings true. But remember, at one point, Cora Jade was dating Braun Breaker, and you had a lot of people trying to say to Breaker, get away from this woman. This is all according to Joe. I'm not taking any credit for this. You know, just kind of trying to give you guys a little something to think about here, right? So this is an interesting release. I personally feel, I almost feel as though if you are any other employer that's out there, if you're Tony Khan, if you're TNA, if you're insert, you're kind of going, what's really going on here? Why was this person like, this is a name where you can't help but go, hey, talk to me off the record. Like, why was this person let go? I need to know, what exactly am I getting myself into here if I'm going to be working with this person. It's almost kind of like you're trying to meet up with somebody on Facebook from the Facebook marketplace. Hey, I know you have this thing for sale. And I want to buy it from you really badly, but I just need you to tell me first, what's going on? Why are you selling this? Does it need any type of repairs? Like what's really going on with this? Like, give me the 411. Now, Cora Jade did issue a statement following her release. Roxanne Perez had ended up sending some support and everything. And this is what she posted on social media. She wrote, dropping out of high school at 15 to chase my dreams was scary, but I'm so thankful it worked out for me for the time that it did. I got to live out so many childhood dreams, go so many places, do so many things, and most importantly, I met some of the most important people in my life that I know I'll have in my corner forever. Unfortunately, it didn't go how I envisioned, and I'm disappointed by a lot of things, but I can look back with no regrets and know I did everything with love and passion and always stood up for myself, even in the times I was scared. I'm proud of myself for that. With all that being said, trust that this is not the end and only my new beginning. I have a lot to say when the time is right. I have so many ideas and I'm excited for the future, and I'm able to show what I truly am capable of. Alana Black is back from the dead, bitches. See you in 30, basically in 30 days. So it's good for her. Good for her. I think she's gonna be just fine. I know she also said on social media, because there was something that Dave Meltzer had pointed out, and Cora Jade had talked about being body shamed when she was working out publicly. Apparently, she was being body shamed by her peers, and she was traumatized by this so badly that she decided to just work out in her own private gym and all that. If that's something that, matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now. Here is what she said. And Gigi Dolan commented in regards to her release as well. Gigi Dolan saying, when I wasn't traveling for work, or correction, when I wasn't traveling to work for either of the two companies I was working for, I trained very hard 3 to 4 days a week, bumping my ass off and doing cardio drills with one of the best slash toughest coaches I've worked with, and worked out every single day with live events every other. And then Cora Jade said this. Plus, can't forget having to go to my own gym outside of work after strength and conditioning that wasn't doing anything for me other than get me body shamed by my bosses, coworkers, and fans. Crazy. So to hear that type of behavior that's going on. And in order to really set this up properly, I did mention Dave Meltzer earlier. He noted that many of the NXT wrestlers who were released were perceived as not working hard during their training. He stated that WWE sometimes labels these wrestlers as lazy and has no problem releasing talent they feel aren't putting in enough effort. So, you know, I know he's heard what he has heard and all of that other stuff. But I tell you what, to see two different comments here on this topic that Dave has put out, you know, kind of on the one hand, you look at what Gigi Dolan said, and it's kind of one of those, nah, you ain't talking about me, son, because this is what I'm doing. And then they hear Corey Jade say, hey, she was being body shamed by bosses, coworkers, and fans. If that is true, I mean, look, not for nothing, but I remember when Corey Jade came back the first rodeo and she got a boob job. And I remember just kind of going, oh my God, she got a boob job. or maybe it's a push-up bra. And I'm like, nah, that's a boob job. I thought it was a nice little boob job. I was kind of curious why she got the boob job. And my whole thought process was, well, if it's a self-esteem thing, you want to feel good about yourself, you want to feel even uh more good about your body, like, okay, like, go ahead. And I remember one of the next time she's got injured and she came back, her boobs were even bigger. And it was like, okay, so her boobs got even bigger because she went under the knife again. And then it's kind of like, okay, can you just be happy with yourself? And it's a very delicate situation, isn't it? Because you're talking about a person's body, and when it's all said and done, person should be able to do as they please with their body, right? I know, for instance, when I had I think now it's been maybe almost 4 years, when I had went through my Invisalign treatment. If you watch the older streams, you guys know my teeth was, I had all my teeth, but I just had this really bad spacing in between my teeth. It was really, really bad. I had like the worst case that my doctors, they weren't even sure if Invisalign was the right way to go. They were thinking more of traditional braces and everything. But I say all that to say this. I remember when I had went through the whole treatment, some of my friends and the family, they were like, why put yourself through that? You should just be happy with where you are, and with what you have. Just be happy with what you got. And I told him, I said, well, no, I don't want to just be content with what I have here, because this is something that has bothered me for many years. I don't like that when I laugh, people are very quick to cover their mouth because they're seeing what's going on with my mouth. I've had some in the past that would say to me, oh my God, what's going on with your mouth, and all, very embarrassing. And I remember to the point that when I would talk to people, I would always, be covering, and very seldom would I laugh, and all that other stuff. So, I definitely know where some people, to my whole point, people like a Cora Jade, or insert whatever. I know what they might be going through as far as like a self-esteem type of thing. So I'm not gonna get on somebody if they decide they want to get some big boobs, or boobs and all that other stuff. Shotzi Blackheart. Now, this needs some clarification here. Because Shotzi did put an official statement out there on social media. So you got these reports that, oh, Shotzi, she's released. Shotzi is still working for WWE. Shotzi did reveal, however, that when it's basically all said and done, WWE has already told her they're not going to be renewing her contract. They're just going to let it expire, and which is basically July. So she's got until July to wrap up properly with WWE, and like, who knows, maybe something can be ironed out in the process. Who knows? Um, the Chemical X faction, once again. I mean, what a major blow. She's been with WWE, Shotzi Blackheart. She's been with them since 2019. I remember there was a couple of NXT specials that she was the host of. One of them was a Halloween themed joint. Um, Definitely the black and gold NXT era. That was her at her peak. That was definitely her at her peak. So I'm definitely uh I'm definitely sad that Shotzi's that's this I don't like this one either. This one kind of took me out of nowhere. I gotta admit to you guys, because I'm looking, I'm like, Corey Jade, whoa. Then I see Shotzi, I'm like, come on, Shotzi. And maybe that's because Shotzi is kind of up my alley with the whole punk rock, tattoo. Yeah, she's just all over the place. Maybe I'm kind of, a little biased right here and everything. I don't know, but her peak was definitely when it came to NXT. Um, we never did understand why her name got shortened. They never did reveal that mystery, but uh, very crappy bookings that went down with Shotzi. It didn't help either when she was part of the main roster and it just came off like they really weren't sure what to do with her. Then when we saw her back in NXT, getting involved with NXT again, it kind of seemed as if, okay, well, maybe we're trying to get back to basics here with her. Maybe, okay, this is, but then that kind of got stopped dead in its tracks real quick. Think about the injury that she had with the ACL last year. There was definitely a lot that she overcame. And then, when we saw her resurface in NXT again, doing the thing with the Chemical X stable, you're going, okay, yeah, this is definitely, it's going some places, seems pretty creative here with what they're doing. It was interesting because it always seemed like with Toxic Attraction, it was like, okay, so what's going to be that next faction? What's going to be that next? And this was definitely, I thought everybody involved down there in NXT, Shawn Michaels and crew, I thought, okay, so we finally hit pay dirt here. We finally hit pay dirt here. And now you basically got Chemical X. They're gone. She'll be fine. Shotzi will be just fine. She's been a long time veteran of this industry. She will be just fine. Whether it's a case where she wants to take her talents, maybe TNA with Gigi Dolan, let them rehook up over there. They could easily do that. If she maybe wants to do something hell with Stardom, I could even see something like that playing out as well. If she maybe wants to do something of a for Shotzi, I could see her, for as long as she's been involved in the business and everything, I could see her easily doing a podcast kind of similar to Undertaker and all those guys. I could see her doing something very similar and crushing it very well. If there was ever a market, now more than ever, where we need to hear from a female wrestler, female wrestler's perspective on some of the things that we're seeing in this business that can be totally unrestricted in her comments and everything. Shotzi has seen enough, been through it all, the connections, that friendships that she's made, associations, like that would be a very, very interesting show. I think. Wow. Is that it? Is that it? We went through we went through all of the releases. Let me tell you something. When it comes to all these people that got released, um, you're allowed to feel how you want to feel. Let those emotions come out. You want to be mad, whatever, sad, happy, like just let it. And then afterwards, just ask yourself, okay, what's next? What am I gonna? I believe everything happens for a reason, but the most important thing is to not get caught up in the path of being lost in the why and the how, but instead just go, so what's next? Just put your best foot forward and jump out there. Okay, what's next? Shotzi put out her email address, by the way, as far as bookings and all that goes. I gotta admit, there were a couple of these names that I looked at, and very seldom do I go, I think I might want to have a conversation with them. There's actually a couple of people that were released. I reached out to, and we'll see what happens. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll see what happens. Very seldom do I get the itch to want to sit down and do an interview, because I'm mostly retired, and I've had some wrestling promotions hit me up in the past 2 to 3 years, and I shot down so many interview opportunities because I was so busy with my studies. It was like, no, 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 no. Like I just can't. I just can't. Like, no, I'm busy. I'm busy. AEW. AEW, they did a little bit of a release of their own. The Righteous, reportedly, they are now gone from AEW. ROH, they've been removed from the roster. Shout out to the good folks over there at PW Insider. And Byron, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by heel turn? What heel turn? I don't know. You got to forgive me. It's like almost 12:30 at night, and I'm kind of like I'm kind of like, what the hell? He'll turn on what? PW Insider is confirming. No, the only dark side, let me tell you something. The only dark side I'm doing is after this show is over, I'm going in the bedroom. I'm getting in the bed with my 3 dogs and my wife. I'm gonna turn the lights off and I'm gonna laugh my ass off watching some Chris Hansen takedown. That's what's up as far as dark side goes. PW Insider has confirmed that apparently the two have exited the company, and that exit took place about a week ago. Most recently, these guys competed in a 8-man tag match on ROH TV. That was going back April 12th, as that episode had aired on April 24th. So that's what's going on with them. Look, from the little bit that I saw of the Righteous, it's interesting because I remember saying, these guys are kind of coming off like fake ass Bray Wyatts. And I remember a couple of AEW fans, as well as wrestling fans that know their guys on the independents, they were very quick to say to me, no, 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 Lee, you got these guys all wrong. They're not like that whatsoever. It's like, forget about how AEW is kind of presenting them to you right now. Like, these guys are actually really, really good. You just got to check out some of their stuff online. So you'll really mess with them. I ended up, I said, okay, let me be a little bit more. And I did check out some stuff online, and it was like, okay, never really I thought got over with the AEW fans. That never really made that connection. It's kind of hard to do so when you're trying to do everything you can to fight for that TV time, but you're getting bumped for this tag team instead, or this segment is going to, it's just one of those kind of deals. So to everybody that was released between AEW, WWE, just know that everything happens for a reason. You guys will be all right. You guys will bounce back, and just take your step, take your best foot forward, and just take it one day at a time. Just one day at a time. I think something that we all kind of take for granted here is when you're in an opportunity where you finally land your dream job, especially as far as that financial security goes. And that's something that we all want in life, especially when you get a little bit older. You're not thinking so much about it when you're in your 20s. You're definitely not thinking about it when you're 18, 19, right? Because you just responsibilities. Ha ha ha. I still have my parents, but once you kind of get in your 20s, you're still to a degree not really, but trust me, once you get into your late 20s, 27, 28, 29, you're really starting to think about, okay, how am I picturing things going for myself by the time I hit 30, by the time I hit 35, by the time I hit 40? Where exactly do I want to be? You start thinking about how much money it's going to take for you to be at a certain point in your life, especially if you're trying to get a home and all that other stuff. So when you're in a position where you finally have your dream job, and you think everything is good, boom, it can end just like that. And unless you've been saving up that money, You got to start making some moves real quick. That's why I love it when some of these wrestlers do the whole meet and greets and all that, because number one, it's easy freaking money. It's just easy freaking money. All you got to do is just sit there, somebody come up, do a couple of autographs, take a picture, maybe stand up, take a picture. It's like the easiest money that you can make. Not to mention, it continues to have your name out there on the circuits. You're still continuing that connection with your fans. It's keeping you in the limelight, all that good stuff. But I mean, man, in 2025, not only can you just do the meet and greets, but like it's so easy for some of these people that got released. They wanted to. I know I think Tatum Paxley, she's talking about no. Is it Bree Presley? That somebody is getting ready to open up a OnlyFans, and it's like, oh, that's gonna do. If Gigi Dolan and the rest of them, they want to take a page or two from Mandy Rose, if they want to go down that route, they can do that. If they want to look into starting up a podcast with everything that's happening, my whole point in 2025 is so easy to, especially if you've already established that built-in following. Oh my God, it's so easy to capitalize on that while the iron is hot and do your thing and everything. Not everybody is going to be as fortunate. Like, let's be real, a lot of these people that I just named that were released, they're not going to be as fortunate as some of the others. So they're going to have to be a little bit more clever in their tactics to um, try to bring in additional revenue and all of that good stuff. We got about almost 100 people I'm seeing throughout all the social media platforms that's joining us here tonight. Much appreciated. Thank you guys for tuning in. On a little bit of a lighter note, congratulations are in order for Big E. Big E has announced his engagement to Mia Yim's sister there. So congratulations to Big E. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be tying the knot. Made the announcement of his engagement on Monday as he took to social media to post it. And it's a very nice ring that he hooked her up with, man. Very nice ring that he hooked her up with. So congratulations. I love stuff like that. Love stuff like that. Good stuff. Also, TKO, something to have in the back of you all's mind. TKO is going to have this Thursday a earnings conference. So this is going to tackle what all happened in the first quarter of 2025. So that should be, if you guys are following Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, I'm sure he's going to have some really great highlights on Thursday. I'm looking forward to that. But again, the first quarter earnings for 2025, that's going to be going down on Thursday. I love hearing that type of stuff. Also, the doctor named in the Vince McMahon legal battle files lawsuit against Janelle Grant's lawyer. Shout out to the folks over there at F4W Online. They're reporting that Dr. Carlone Colker has filed a defamation lawsuit against Ann Callis, the lawyer of former WWE staffer Janelle Grant. Colker, who works at Peak Wellness, was named in the ongoing legal battle between Grant and Vince McMahon, in which Grant accuses McMahon of sex trafficking, rape, and more, as you guys recall. Grant's legal team claims that Colker and Peak Wellness aided her abuse at the hands of Vince McMahon by giving her unapproved treatments and unidentified substances. This allegedly gave McMahon more control over her. They also claim that Peak Wellness did not give them complete documentation of Grant's treatment. So Colker has filed a 41-page complaint with the U.S. District for the District of Connecticut filed this right before the weekend, claiming that Callis and the Holland law firm defamed him through their press releases and statements during a press conference on YouTube. He claims that all relevant medical records were given to Grant's legal team last summer, including emails that relate to it. He denies that Grant was given any unidentified substances and said she did not voice any issues when she ended her treatment in 2022. Calker is looking to get punitive damages and claims Callis and Holland knowingly defamed him and his business. So that is not good. A 41 page, depending on where this goes, obviously, you got to see all the paperwork, all the evidence, that's going to be out there. But when you hear something like that, right down to the point where, hey, look, not for nothing, but when you were being treated like you didn't mention any of this, and now you conveniently wait until after, to say these things, and like definitely not good. So I'm not choosing sides. I'm just saying, as far as like what you kind of want to look out for as this continues to develop, you kind of want to just have that in the back of your head going, because this could come back to really, really bite Janelle Grant and her team in the ass. Just, for an example, look at what happened with Billy Mitchell. There was that longtime YouTuber that thought he was untouchable with all the videos that he was doing of Billy Mitchell. I remember right down to the point when Billy Mitchell was like, okay, you going to operate this way? I'm going to sue your ass. And kids basically, yeah, bring it on, and we saw how that unfortunately ended for him. Oh no, now he has to actually get a job. It's kind of one of those type of deals and everything. So very very unfortunate, very unfortunate. Let's see, other than that, AEW, they've made the announcement that they're going to be taking up residency for the next, I think, 6 to 8 weeks at the 2300 arena beginning in August. How about that? AEW 2300 arena. Check these dates out, and shout out to my people in the Philadelphia area. It's going to be running from August 27th until September the 11th. So August 27th, that's going to be an edition of Dynamite. August 30th, you're going to have Collision. September 3rd, you're going to have Dynamite. September 5th, Labor Day. Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. September 6th, Collision. September 10th, Dynamite. And wrapping up September 11th, Collision. So shout out to my people that's in the Philadelphia area. If you're going to be heading over there, hope you have a fantastic time. That should be a damn good event and everything. When is Cody returning to SmackDown? Yeah, I would love it if he came back after SmackDown goes back to 2 hours, which is basically in June. I would love it if he resurfaced then. Honestly, Cody can take all the time he needs. I'm not tripping right now. I happen to be one of those fans where it's like, this dude ran at it hard for like over a year. Like, go chill. Go be a dad. Go be a husband. Go be right. Just go chill for a little bit. Like, really, we're good. Do I miss him? Yeah, but it's good. It's good. WWE, they revived the trademark filing for Edge. So contrary to some of the reports that was running around where WWE apparently abandoned the trademark for Edge, yeah, no. So WWE, they sent a note. Hang on a second. There we go. Sorry about that. I saw that little, wait a minute, what's going on here? We're almost done though. No, we were talking about Edge. WWE, they refiled the trademark for Edge. Apparently, WWE sent a notice of revival for the trademark after it was abandoned on April 22nd. So that happened when the USPTO didn't get a response to an office action by the deadline. WWE first applied for the latest trademark back in November. So for those of you that thought, when you initially saw that one report, oh, WWE abandoned the Edge trademark. For those of you thinking that, maybe Adam Copeland was about to, not so fast, not so fast. Did not happen. No, wishful thinking, though, wishful thinking. All right. I want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors because without them, cool content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. Let me tell you guys something. And we got some really cool sponsors. I teased it on man, it feels like maybe last week. We're working with a really cool big sponsor about this energy drink, and I'm so pumped to be working with these guys. I just got to get through this next week, and I think on next week's show we're going to be able to start promoting these guys. You guys are going to dig who we're promoting here. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. It ain't Prime. It's somebody else, somebody that's been around much longer. But when you find out, you guys are definitely gonna dig it. We are brought to you in part by our friends over behind the comic book, the Genesis Heist. You guys can learn more about it. I'll make sure I post the links in the episode description, but just to kind of give you guys an idea, if you type in the Genesis Heist comic, you should be able to come across it in a Bing or Google search. I'd give you the URL, but it's a rather long one. But I like this concept that they got because check this out. The Genesis Heist is the first comic book that follows a group of Bitcoin engineers operating at a facility out in Casadilla, and they must solve the mystery of a heist from a remote planet. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Readers of the comic will get a chance to participate in a Bitcoin hunt with clues to decipher the encrypted code hidden in the pages of the comic. A reward of 100,000 SATs awaits readers who can investigate the content of the pages, crack the hidden code there, and enjoy some Bitcoin treasures. So I know Bitcoin is kind of growing more and more with you guys, so check that out. We're also brought to you in part by AIstudios.com. If you're ready to bring your creative vision to life, let the folks at AI Studios help you out. No credit card is required. Make awesome cutting edge images. My God, avatars. You need help with your digital storytelling. AI Studios hooks you up. And the best part, no credit card required. Check them out, AIstudios.com. They also got an app. Last but not least, we're brought to you in part by our friends over at ClaimMySETCRefund.com. You may be eligible for a refund of over $30,000 if you worked in key self-employment positions going as far back as 2021. Let the folks over at ClaimMySETCRefund.com help you out. Now, some of you guys may be saying, well, Lee, tax season, the deadline was April 15th. Yeah, but there's some of you guys out there that are procrastinators. You probably are going to be working some stuff out with the government, paying that penalty fee and all that. So this definitely applies to you. I'm talking to you guys. So definitely hit them up. Let them help you out. I mean, we're talking about maybe up to $30,000 of unclaimed money. Come on, who doesn't like a little unclaimed money, right? So as far as your next edition of episodes, I know Wednesday, Tammy definitely wants to sit down and she wants to do an episode of Wrestling with the Topic. So we're going to pick her brain more on what's happening with the NFL draft coming to DC in 2027. Commanders getting a new RFK stadium in 2030 when it'll be complete. We'll bounce a little bit all over the news on that show. We'll also look at the NBA playoffs. We'll also talk a little bit about what could be in the future for WWE. I wanted to get into it tonight, but I didn't want the show to be too long-winded. But looking at these releases and all that, and WWE partnering up with AAA, you just kind of can't help but look at what's really under the surface here. Are we possibly, and we'll tease you with that. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. So that'll be a solid show. Make sure you check that out. And also, your next edition of the RCWR show after that, of course, we'll be here Saturday after WWE Backlash goes off the air. Join me. I'll be here. I'll be live. Looking forward to it. So I think if the roster remains where it is right now, as far as the Backlash card, if that remains where it is right now at 5 matches, then yeah, it starts at 7. I would think we're probably going to be on at like 10 o'clock, maybe almost 10:30, give or take, that Saturday night. So that should be on point. By the way, for those of you looking for Backlash predictions, I'm gonna put something up on YouTube. I think maybe we'll do like a YouTube short. Maybe we'll put something up on YouTube as a short. Maybe have it run about 3 minutes or less. Boom, boom, boom. Go through the matches that way. Easy peasy, right? Meantime, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand on the downloads. We had almost 100 people stretched across all the platforms tonight. Join us for the show. So thank you guys. Really good turnout. Please, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, that definitely would mean a big deal. Go do that. Or, if you like, you can just hit the follow button on the Twitter account. Follow me that way. Say hello. Let me know that you had saw the stream so I know who you are and everything like that. Do it that way as well. Yeah. Be kind, rewind. Check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. Get at me all throughout social media using the same keywords. And until next go around, my pretty babies, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios, y'all, and take care.